The road to GH will reveal that Brooklyn and Chase have been married for several years, but their dream of having children has not yet come true. Brooklyn longs to be a mother, and her loving husband, Chase, does his best to comfort her. They try everything, from medical consultations to praying on lonely nights. However, what Chase doesn't know is that behind Brooklyn's sad eyes lies a huge secret she has buried for many years. Lois, Brooklyn's mother, has carried a painful secret that she has hidden for years. When Brooklyn was a young teenager, she attended a summer camp and developed feelings for Dante. That short but intense first love led to an unexpected consequence. Brooklyn became pregnant. Upon hearing the news, Lois was both terrified and heartbroken. She worried for her daughter's future, a future that could be ruined by social stigma and judgment. With the heart of a mother, she decided to act, even if it meant hiding the truth. Lois quietly arranged for the child to be given to another family. Brooklyn's childbirth was not only physically painful, but also left deep psychological scars. She lost her child and, due to complications after birth, also lost the ability to have children in the future. To protect her daughter, Lois made Brooklyn believe that the baby had not survived. Lois thought that this would help her daughter escape the pressures and trauma of the past, but she never imagined that her decision would become a lifelong haunting. Years later, the secret that seemed forgotten suddenly returned to haunt Lois. Gio, the child she had given away, unexpectedly reappeared in Port Charles. Now a strong, kind young man loved by many, especially Dante, every gesture and look from Gio made Lois realize the strange connection between him and Brooklyn. Fear crept into her mind as Lois realized that her secret could be exposed at any time. In desperation, Lois went to the church near Rice Plaza, where the dim candlelight and quiet atmosphere somewhat soothed her troubled soul. She knelt before the altar, hands clasped, tears streaming down her face as she whispered a prayer. Lois confided in God, asking for forgiveness for her sins, for the decisions she made, believing she was protecting her daughter. But in that silence, Lois didn't know that Tracy, an ambitious and scheming relative of the Quartermaine family, was standing behind her, hearing every word of her confession. Tracy stepped out, her sharp eyes full of calculation. Not only was she angry about what Lois had done, but she also saw an opportunity to manipulate the situation. Tracy knew that if this secret were revealed, it wouldn't just ruin Brooklyn and Chase's marriage, it would also shake the Quartermaine family's reputation. Tracy threatened Lois, forcing her to keep the truth hidden. If Chase finds out that Brooklyn was once pregnant and can no longer have children, their marriage will collapse, Tracy coldly warned. Not stopping there, she ordered Lois to protect Gio at all costs and make sure no one knew the truth about his origins. With no other choice, Lois reluctantly agreed to cooperate. The two women began to devise a clever plan to conceal the truth. They created a story that Brooklyn's infertility was a recent medical issue, unrelated to the past. Chase, with his love and trust for his wife, was completely deceived. He had no idea that the truth was buried deep within the lies carefully constructed. But no matter how elaborate Lois and Tracy's plan was, the truth always has a way of surfacing. As Chase suffered from their inability to have children, the happiness between him and Brooklyn gradually faded. The lies, originally created with good intentions, began to eat away at their marriage, and Lois couldn't help but wonder. Had her decision all those years ago really protected Brooklyn, or was it the beginning of an inevitable tragedy? Brooklyn began to feel the distance between herself and Chase. He no longer smiled as much, his eyes always showing signs of exhaustion and disappointment. Though Chase didn't speak of it, Brooklyn knew he was suffering as their dream of having children seemed more and more distant. Her love for him remained strong, but each passing day, the guilt and pressure from the past secret weighed heavily on her. She longed for freedom, but her fear of losing Chase kept her from facing the truth. Whenever Gio appeared, Brooklyn felt a strange connection, though she couldn't explain why. His smile, innocent eyes, and the inexplicable closeness between them made her heart tighten. She tried to push the feeling aside, telling herself she was imagining things. But every time Gio laughed with Dante, her former lover, or stood next to familiar faces in the town, the sense of confusion and conflict within her grew. Could this just be coincidence, or was there something more that she had yet to uncover? Meanwhile, Tracy and Lois's plan continued as intended. They carefully controlled every piece of information, each action calculated to keep the secret in the dark. But the truth is like an underground current, no matter how much it is blocked, it always finds a way to surface. Gio, with his curious and intelligent nature, began to ask questions about his origins. Some stories didn't match, a few odd glances and vague words made him even more suspicious. He started looking for clues, from casual conversations to old documents, and everything led him to Lois. Every time Lois looked at Gio, it seemed like her gaze revealed everything. Behind her affection was an unspoken anxiety. He sensed that there was something she was hiding, a secret he had the right to know. As Gio persistently pieced together the puzzle, the full picture began to emerge more clearly. But what he didn't anticipate was that this truth would not only affect his life, but it would also threaten to tear apart every relationship around him. The truth, like a ticking time bomb, was slowly coming to light. It threatened to destroy Brooklyn and Chase's relationship, forcing both to confront pain they never imagined. It would also completely change Joe's life, as he would discover that he was not the person he thought he was. More importantly, this truth would have far-reaching effects on the Quartermain family and everyone close to them in Port Charles. Tracy and Lois's plan was built on a fragile web of lies, a delicate balance between truth and deceit. They believed that as long as everything remained hidden, the lives of Brooklyn, Chase, and the Quartermain family would continue peacefully. But if Chase ever learns the truth, the consequences will be devastating beyond anyone's imagination. First, Chase, who had always loved and trusted Brooklyn, would feel deeply betrayed. Not only would he suffer from the lies of his wife, but he would also feel that his love and loyalty had been exploited. The revelation that Brooklyn had once given birth, and that Lois and Tracy had fabricated an entire story to cover it up, would destroy his faith in the family he was trying to build. Chase, someone who has always lived by the principles of truth and justice, would never be able to accept this deceit, no matter how noble the reasons behind it. But Chase's suffering would only be the surface. The true consequences would be far-reaching. If the secret were exposed, the entire Quartermain family would fall into a major crisis. Their reputation, already shaken by past scandals, would be further destroyed. Family members, from those who loved Brooklyn to those who already doubted Lois and Tracy, would split into factions. A battle for control of the truth and the protection of the family's honor would erupt, further fracturing already complicated relationships. Moreover, Joe's discovery of the truth would put him in an awkward position. He would not only be hurt by the truth about his origins, but also feel betrayed by the fact that he was once given away like a possession. This could lead to anger and deep conflict between Gio and Lois, Brooklyn, and even Dante, the father he never knew. Meanwhile, Dante, upon learning that Gio is his son, would be left in a state of confusion and inner turmoil. He would feel guilty for not knowing about Joe's existence all these years, and this could deeply affect his relationship with Brooklyn and other loved ones. However, the most terrifying consequence would be the psychological and emotional fallout from this secret. Brooklyn, who has tried to bury her pain for so many years, would be forced to confront the memories she's always tried to forget. The pressure from Chase's disappointment, Joe's anger, and the judgment of those around her would leave her feeling isolated, lost, and deeply hurt. She could lose everything, her husband, her family, and the fragile peace she's worked so hard to maintain. Tracy and Lois, the two women behind this plan, would have to face the consequences not only from the family but also from their own consciences. Everything they tried to protect could be destroyed, replaced by resentment, judgment, and a guilt that would never fade. In the end, Port Charles, a town that has witnessed many secrets uncovered and family tragedies, would once again be rocked by a new storm. But this storm would not only sweep away relationships, but also leave deep scars that no one would be able to erase.